Hey everybody, it's Lesley Dale with the TFP and our reporter Benton. He's busy today, but we have some crime stories that Ben's never even reported on in his 25 years that we're going to talk about. There's a Grundy County man who was convicted of first-degree murder, was released on appeal after serving some time, but now he's headed back to prison. This immediately caught my eye today as I was looking over the stories you're looking at, because you just don't hear about this kind of thing going on very often. And then you told me I haven't seen this in 25 years. So
yeah, not this exact situation where a man has a successful appeal at the trial court level, and then that appeal is overturned by the appellate court, and all his convictions are reinstated, even though he was released on the original ruling.
Right.
So the family's upset that they taken him and put him back in jail. While he's going to petition for an appeal to the Supreme Court. Now that's a little more strenuous than just the direct appeal to the appellate court, because they hear all those appeals. They either dismiss it or not. But the Supreme Court, you have to petition them to get them to review the case, and they can just decline to look at it, and it's all over with.
Okay.
So that's the family would like for him to remain free on bond, but right now he's in the Grundy County Jail.
Okay, so he's behind bars. His name is Adam Brazil,
33 years old now.
33 years old, and the convictions that were reinstated as of Friday: first-degree murder, felony murder, aggravated robbery, attempted first-degree murder, aggravated assault, and assault, according to the appeals court documents. Again, Friday. So the Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals overturned the 2015 post-conviction ruling that had reversed his murder convictions and freed him. So how long did he serve?
He was in jail for about 8 years, I believe.
8 years.
He was sentenced in a jury trial in 2007.
Okay.
And all along, the family and his attorneys have challenged the sufficiency of evidence, whether or not his legal counsel was effective in defending him. And that was the last ruling that was overturned, was the post-conviction court, which was Judge Justin Angel. He found that legal counsel should have done some things that they didn't. The appellate court overturned that ruling and said that there was nothing wrong with the way they did anything. So.
Okay. So the focus of your story today is the family of this young man, Adam Brazil, is in shock. Yes, the Brazil family,
they're upset. They're in shock that the thing was overturned.
Right.
And, the day it's overturned, he's back behind bars. So, they're reeling.
Okay.
Yeah. Could you, talk about why it's murky, why there's a situation of, maybe it didn't happen.
It's complicated.
It's very complicated. I would rather not try to analyze it, but we do have the document online.
To sort through these things, and not being an attorney or a judge is difficult.
And it's still ongoing. If they win the Supreme Court's approval to seek a review by them, they could go back and still reverse everything again. Okay. Or they'll just simply say that they find, they support whatever the appellate court did.
Who was asking that question? Somebody asking that question?
That
was Shakeem, our web producer, was wondering. Yeah, I mean, this story is one of those what Dateline is made of stories.
Sure.
There have been several different attorneys in the mix, investigators.
Yeah, there's
families questioning
a guy
things.
that does documentaries that's involved in this.
Right.
And he's
I
been
thought
following
that was
along.
probably going to go on. So somebody is doing that.
Yeah, there's somebody who's been following along with this thing
Serial.
all along. So.
Serial, yeah. If you guys have seen that podcast, right, Shakeem?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, this is strange. And of course, the family, as you mentioned, that's the focus of your story today. His sister, Christina, said the family is in shock, and further shocked he was jailed so quickly the same day. She went on to say, quote, "Adam's a very strong man, and he's a very faithful man, and he knows he'll grow from all of this." So what about the victims' families? Have they spoken out?
The surviving victim, Rebecca Hill, who survived the incident, she has since passed away. So, and I haven't heard anything from the family.
Passed away under other circumstances?
Right.
Okay. Well, that would be an interesting follow. Yeah. And I'm sure he's working on that. Yeah. Okay. Well, you need to go back.
I
to
need to
work,
go.
Right? Okay, we're gonna follow this. It's certainly not over, and I mean, you heard of the documentary filmmaker or whatever.
Right,
is
right.
following
There's
it as well.
there's
so.
somebody involved in that, and
course.
we'll be interested to see if they do post a bond, set a bond
Okay.
for him,
Strange
so that he
story.
can make a bond while the case is being sought for appeal.
Right, and a lot goes into the judge
Yes.
determining bond with such hard, first degree murder.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Just a quick comment. Dana Young just commented that family and friends are meeting at the Grundy Adam are meeting at the Grundy County courthouse today for a 1 p.m. meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
Family
okay.
and
The
friends.
supporters have been
Yes.
gathering.
Supporters
They're
are
trying
gathering
to
there.
raise money for
Okay.
a bond if they get one.
So, supporters of Adam Brazil meeting 1 o'clock today
At Grundy County courthouse.
Okay.
Grundy County.
Well,
Courthouse,
you guys
okay.
continue to update us too on what's going on outside of the
Absolutely.
newsroom. Well, that's where we get our stories. Okay. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Ben. Just got to go back to work. So we're gonna bring in another reporter. Come on down, David Cobb. All right. So this is our outdoor reporter. You may remember him from Iron Man. That
May.
chair is too short. Do you want another chair? Here, come over here. Sorry, I don't want him to be sitting like that, you guys. It's real casual up here in the TFP.
I'm vertically challenged as it is, so
Love-
I appreciate you thinking of me.
Always. Okay, so normally when I've spoken with you, we're talking about biking, bike lanes.
Bike
We can
lanes.
talk about that
man
today. That's on the
balls.
front page.
I know. Let's talk about that too. But we're, this is kind of like a newscast. Like you start with the hard stuff and then you get a little lighter. So we have a mixed bag on this Tuesday for you. So let's talk about this weekend. You were not covering the outdoor stuff. I mean, maybe you were, but you had to turn into a gang.
Yeah,
Violent stuff.
our police reporter Shelley Bradbury had an important story that's also on today's front page about recruiting a more diverse police force, and so she was on that story yesterday. So I was asked to pinch hit, if you will, on some of the violence that we saw here in town over the weekend.
Okay, how many shootings?
Four shootings, 7 victims total, 1 fatality over the weekend.
Where?
Well, let's see here. On B8, I sort of listed them.
Yeah.
So if you get a copy of today's paper, you can flip to the
Okay,
back.
let me show you guys. Shaquem, can you kind of see that?
I'll zoom in on it.
Okay.
3 of them were in areas where we typically see violence.
Okay.
But there was one, interestingly enough, that was kind of just right out here outside of the Times Free Press
You know
office
what? I
near
heard
City Hall.
about that. Somebody texted me or private messaged me on Facebook like 12:45, like Saturday night, early Sunday morning. And they were like, "Do you know what's going on at City Hall?"
Yeah, I thought it was, well, let me look. I think it was Friday night / Saturday morning
Friday?
when that one
It was
happened. Yeah, it was
Friday
night.
11:45
Okay,
p.m.
sorry.
Friday.
Friday night,
You're
yeah.
right. It was Friday, and I was like, I don't know. So I called one of our web producers, Mark Pace, at the time, and he said that Shelley, our crime reporter, had actually been downtown or something and heard about this quickly, and we
Yeah.
got the story up for you first. It wasn't anywhere else I could find that night. So what happened?
I mean, it's peculiar. You don't see shootings in the downtown area very often.
Yeah.
But apparently, an 18-year-old guy was walking and he was shot. Police Chief Fred Fletcher said yesterday that they believe he's a gang member, so that you might be able to assume that it was
Right.
a gang-related incident. And of course, that was just the beginning of a violent weekend. 7 victims total. As I mentioned, 1 passed away from the injuries that he suffered outside of or at Jay's Bar on Wilder Street. So thoughts and prayers with his family. That was Jimmy McCain, 33, and he also was a gang member, but in this particular incident, he was an innocent bystander, according to police.
Wow.
So I think he was caught in the crossfire of a dispute there at that bar on Wilder Street early Sunday morning.
Okay, so you listed them, as we mentioned for you here on the back of the region B8. So if you want to see the locations, but let's talk about what the police chief Fred Fletcher is blaming for all this weekend violence.
It's interesting. Fall break is typically a time of year that police know is going to be violent. They have some data tracking mechanisms and some intelligence that they've gathered that kind of shows them that, hey, this is a time of year where you can expect some violence. So one, they were already sort of expecting that. Obviously, this week is fall break for Hamilton County schools. So
Right.
if you think about it, Friday nights, it's kind of the beginning of that unofficially. So they weren't totally surprised that there was some violence during this time period. But the other thing that he credited it to, which I thought was interesting, is that there are several prominent gang leaders behind bars right now, apparently.
Oh.
And so he said that some of the lower level gang members are sort of trying to jockey to fill the leadership void in the community, in the gang community, as some of the higher ranking gang leaders are behind bars. So it's sort of counterintuitive, maybe, that putting high ranking gang members off the street would sort of create more violence, but that's kind of what they think they saw over the weekend.
Interesting. Well, there's about 5,500 of you who have stopped and looked at this on our social media Facebook page. So lots of people have their own opinions. Lindsay Sparks said it has been shown in studies across the country that juvenile delinquency is more likely to occur when students are not in school. So, that goes along with what Chief Fletcher was saying. Rashonda Moore says the problem is they have no examples as far as the people actually going to jail and staying when they murder people. They know Tennessee is going to let them go free. What kind of message do you think you're sending? Oh, I don't know who she's talking to there, but...
I think it's also worth noting, too, there's a third element to what happened over the weekend. From hearing from the police chief yesterday, Fred Fletcher spoke about how the jail is not well suited to handle the types of violent people that we're putting behind bars in our community.
How so?
Well, it's overcrowded, and you need to talk to Shelley about this. She did a really great in-depth A1 Sunday Centerpiece article about some of the problems historically and currently that have faced the Hamilton County Jail. She's the expert on that topic.
We still have that on the website, right?
Yeah.
So they would just search under where?
It should be in the local section. Just
Local
go back in the
section.
local
I
section.
read
Okay.
it yesterday, and if you read the hyperlink or if you read the story that I wrote that's in today's paper, the one we're talking
There's a
about
link.
now, I hyperlinked to the
Oh,
story that
good.
Shelley wrote.
Yeah,
Because
good.
again, I'm just a pinch hitter on this story about the weekend shootings.
Yeah.
But
You're a good pitcher.
You're good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shaquem. Baseball reference. Go Cubs. But anyway, yeah,
Cubs are doing good, yeah.
well, they blew a
Well,
lead last night.
Uh-oh.
I had to go to bed before it was over.
Uh-oh, okay, sorry.
But the jail is an issue in this.
Yeah.
Because some of these high-ranking gang members are apparently getting in disputes in jail, in the Hamilton County Jail, here, and some of that spills over into the streets.
Yeah.
And so, there are many elements, I guess, to maybe why some of the violence we saw over the weekend actually happened.
Okay, yeah, and some other people chimed in and said, that's stupid, that's stupid to blame the schools being out, is I think what they meant. And then people are just going back and forth about, that they believe that is part of the problem. Police chief does too. There's all sorts of opinions on why this stuff happens, but do we really ever know why people shoot people? I mean, hard to decipher something like that, but we appreciate all of your dialogue, and it's getting people talking, getting people focused. City government, the mayor has this anti-violence initiative, police chief, and we as reporters are following, unfortunately, all of these homicides and shootings for you. So thanks for doing that. Let's leave you with something light. Not the Cubs, apparently, but what else is going on that we can tell folks about?
Well, this might actually make people more mad than the
Oh,
violence.
great.
But,
Wonderful.
They are going to proceed with a road proposal
I
on
saw
ML King
that.
and Bailey that will reduce that from 4 lanes to 3 lanes, with the addition of bike lanes
Okay,
on the sides there.
this is on the front of the paper today, if you guys see. So yeah, that's happening. We kind of expected that was going to happen, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I expected that to happen because the business leaders out there and the resident associations that'll be
They're
affected
really
by that
for
change,
it.
they're for it. Now, obviously, I think Shaquem, I don't know if you've been tracking the comments at all on the Facebook page, but there's a lot of
Uh-oh.
commuters
Here we go.
who aren't too enthused about that. So yeah, I mean, I cite in the article that's on today's front page the results of a survey that the city conducted to
Okay.
get public feedback on what the public thought about the proposal.
Right.
According to the city's survey, it was about 2-1 people who favored the project as opposed to those who didn't.
Okay.
A poll that we ran in an article that I wrote about this proposal last month was almost 50-50. There were
Okay.
303 responses as of yesterday when I checked the poll for the last time. 152 people were in favor of it, 151 were against it. So it was split really down the middle.
Right.
But it's worth reiterating that, like you said, the business owners and the resident leaders are in favor of it out here for the most part. I'm sure there's those
Thank
who
you for
aren't, but-
approving me to the Facebook page, Highland Park residents. Yeah.
I know you're excited about that,
I
right?
was. I mean, thank you, Christy Wilkinson. Yeah, people are going back and forth, and about 6,200 people have stopped and looked at it, but they're saying what you're saying. Like Laura Ann Turner said, I'm going to have to find a job closer to home. Every route I find to the other side of Chattanooga, avoiding I-24, 75, ends up with orange barrels or construction that makes it a hassle. Thanks again for being super unfriendly to commuters. So that's from the other side, not the Highland Park group who are for it. So
Yeah.
but it's happening. When is it happening? When is it proposed?
Work will
to
probably
happen?
begin in the spring. There's many elements to this. You already see some sidewalk work going on out there on MLK.
Right.
That's
You
why you
said,
see
we have
some
a
orange
picture of
barrels.
that. Yeah.
That's sort of somewhat incorporated in the project, but the actual, I think, road redesign won't happen until the spring. That's my understanding of the timeline. They also have to coordinate it with the looming renovations to Miller Park, which
Okay.
our city
Right.
government reporter Paul Leach has been writing on.
Right, we talked about that last week too. If you scroll down on our Facebook, Ellis and I went over the plans. We actually had the renderings and stuff for you too.
Yeah.
So lots
A
going
lot of
on.
coordination that they've got to do there before they can really move forward.
And there's a ton of downtown development, 900 million total in downtown development that we're going to be talking about at 2 o'clock today. A lot of you are still looking at that story that ran on Sunday. Our business editor, Dave Fluster, broke it all down. So we're going to talk about that as well. Okay, do you have anything, sports, balls, positive stuff? I want a positive story.
Positive story. Well,
Shaquem, anything?
The
Please,
Vols
guys.
are gonna play.
The Vols.
is it a positive story that they're going to play Alabama? Though?
I mean,
that's
they're relevant when they're playing Alabama this year.
Yeah,
you know,
relevant.
2 years in a
I haven't
row.
had a chance to totally vet this, but apparently, number 9 Tennessee versus number 1 Alabama is going to be the kind of the first time that they've played each other when they're both in the top 10 in the series' history, which is pretty crazy to
Goes back to
wrap your mind around.
1928, right?
Yeah, I got to
Wow.
vet that, investigate that a little further. But that's something that's floating around out there on the internet that it might actually be the first time that they've
Two
played
top
each other
10.
in the top 10.
Oh,
So,
cool. That's interesting.
yeah, Neyland Stadium should be rocking on Saturday.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
A lot of orange.
Yeah, lots of orange. Well, that's somewhat positive. People are excited to watch the game.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with the people at home before you get back to work?
Well, stay tuned. I will have some less troubling matters to report
Good.
on the rest of the week.
Good.
There's a marathon
Hope so.
on Sunday.
Yes, yeah.
Seven Bridges Marathon.
And or half, you could do either one.
Four,
right.
Four Bridges half marathon. Literally, it's measured by how many times you run over the bridges. So
Okay.
if you're doing the half, it's 4 bridges. If you're doing the full, it's 7 bridges. And then also River Rocks is continuing. So I'll have a story at some point in the next few
I feel like I
days,
haven't heard
but-
as much about that as you usually do.
Oh, you haven't been reading my stories in Leslie?
Oh man.
So much crime and politics.
Right.
I've got to make a switch.
Well, this upcoming weekend is sort of the official end of River Rocks. It started at the beginning of the month, but also at the end of next week, you've got the Triple Crown Bouldering Series, which is up on Mowbray Mountain.
Oh,
That's a
let's
big
talk
draw.
about that. Yeah, cool.
So yeah, we can talk about that next week or something.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. It's a beautiful time of year. That's a positive, and so nice to have all these races and outdoor activities. I mean, I need to maybe train, but I can be a spectator. One of our Facebook friends, Christy Smalley, hi Christy, she told me she was running the half of the 7 bridges on Sunday, so I was aware of that. Thank you guys for telling me what's going on, and David, you too. So we're gonna leave. We'll be back at 2 to talk about that 900 million in downtown development. So see you then. Bye. Have a good lunch.